I accidentally overheard my parents' darkest secret. Now, I wish I hadn't. I always thought my family was normal. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Or at least that's what I believed. I was the only child of two loving parents, and while life wasn't perfect, it felt stable. My mom and dad had been together for as long as I could remember, and we lived in a small but cozy house in a quiet neighborhood. But everything changed one night. It started with something so ordinary. I woke up in the middle of the night, thirsty. My room was dark, the kind of heavy, suffocating darkness that makes the world outside your bed feel eerie. I grabbed my phone, the bright screen making me squint as I checked the time. 2:47 a.m. I sighed, knowing I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep unless I got some water. So I dragged myself out of bed and quietly made my way downstairs, careful not to step on the one creaky stair that always gave me away when I tried sneaking around at night. That's when I heard it. My parents' voices, hushed but intense, coming from the living room. At first I thought maybe I was imagining it. Why would they be up so late? But then I caught snippets of their conversation, something about the past and the truth, and then my name. My heart started pounding. Instinct told me to go back upstairs, but curiosity had a stronger grip on me. I crouched behind the staircase, holding my breath as I strained to listen. I can't do this anymore, my mom's voice cracked, almost in a whisper. It's eating me alive. Every time I look at him, I see the truth, and I feel like a fraud. My dad sighed heavily. We can't tell him. If we do, it will destroy everything. But don't you think he deserves to know? We should have told him years ago that he's not really ours. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. Not theirs? What did that even mean? I pressed a hand over my mouth to stop myself from gasping, my mind racing. Were they joking? Misunderstanding something? But the tension in their voices was real. Too real. My dad's voice was calmer but firm. If we tell him now, he'll never trust us again. We raised him. He's our son, no matter what. But what if he finds out on his own? My mom's voice was barely above a whisper. What if someone else tells him? My dad hesitated, and that silence scared me more than anything else. There was something even worse they weren't saying. I stayed there for what felt like hours, frozen in place, listening to them argue in hushed voices. They talked about things I didn't fully understand. Legal documents, missing records, someone named David. Who the hell was David? I had to get out of there before they realized I was listening. As quietly as I could, I crept back upstairs, my heart still hammering in my chest. Once I was back in my room, I locked the door and sat on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I wanted to believe it was just a misunderstanding, that maybe they meant something else, but deep down, I knew that wasn't the case. And suddenly, so many things from my childhood started making sense. The missing baby pictures, we had family albums, but none of them showed me before the age of 3. Whenever I asked, my mom would just say, "We lost some photos when we moved." The weird looks from distant relatives. At family reunions, I always felt like some people treated me differently, like they weren't sure how to act around me. The way my mom would sometimes cry after staring at me for too long. I never thought much of it before. But now? Now I couldn't ignore the feeling in my gut. The search for the truth. I barely slept that night. I tossed and turned, my mind replaying their words over and over again. The next morning, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just ask them, not yet. If they were hiding this from me, I needed to find proof. So I started digging. First, I went through our family documents looking for my birth certificate. When I finally found it, something seemed off. The paper looked newer than I expected, like it had been reprinted recently. And the signatures at the bottom, my parents' signatures, looked different from how they usually sign things. Then I searched through my parents' old photo albums. Nothing. Not a single picture of my mom pregnant. Not a single picture of me as a newborn. The more I looked, the more suspicious I became. Finally, I did something I never thought I'd do. I took one of those online DNA tests. It was expensive, and I had to wait weeks for the results, but I couldn't rest until I knew the truth. And when the results finally came in, they confirmed what I feared. I wasn't related to my parents at all. Confrontation and the final revelation. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I confronted my parents that same night, DNA results in hand. At first, they tried to deny it. My dad got defensive, saying those tests aren't always accurate. But my mom broke down crying, and instead of letting me go into the foster system, my parents, my adoptive parents, took me and never told anyone. They changed my name. They forged documents. They created a new life for me, pretending I had always been theirs. They said they did it out of love, that they couldn't bear to see me lost in the system. But I couldn't look at them the same way ever again. Now I'm stuck. Do I forgive them for keeping this from me? Do I try to find out more about my real parents? Or do I walk away from the only family I've ever known? All I know is my life will never be the same again.